bit about your writing and how you kind of started writing and everything? I got your book the other day, which I got so excited about. It's beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. It was a wonderful opportunity, part of the book that I'd written, but it was the first one I published. And I was deeply privileged to get to work with the other 19 authors. Some of them were very, very talented at both marketing and writing. And we had a Facebook page private going during the series where we would actually encourage each other. We'd share roses and thorns. And there was a lot
Oh,
of for you and also any questions anyone had, anyone who was struggling really had threads going to help the authors that were struggling and help them edit, help them get through. So it was an incredible group of women with a mission
oh,
to help fight sex trafficking. It was one of the most special things I've been part of in my
cool.
adult life. Part of some amazing things. I love my church and my community, but I was honored to be part of that. So,
Cool.
series, it's 20 books. The proceeds go to fight trafficking in the first year. But actually, when this interview is posted, the year would have been over about a week earlier. So it just
Okay.
that part would be over.
Okay.
But most of the women have gone on to do other collaborations. So book two that I have with that's coming out in August, the proceeds go to the Human Coalition and helping vulnerable families. So I have three of the characters from that in there. So, but
Okay. Very
in
cool.
in introduction, uh, I'm Verity Sandahl. I live on a marsh of one of Minnesota's 10 lakes. I
Perfect.
have a gorgeous view. Most of our house is built, you can see the view from ever. And so we just stand there and look out the window sometimes. We have 10 children, nine biological and one adopted.
Oh, cool.
And our 11th is due August 8th. And our
Cool.
two oldest boys are 16. So my husband and I have done about 80 hours of driving the last 6 months.
Right.
I've discovered the first 10 hours of driving with a new driver are really frightening. And then after that, it's not so bad. So just get through the first 10 hours.
Yeah.
After this, it'll be easy. We don't have any others who are about the same age.
They're all at different ages and stuff, so they're all needing different things. And yeah, so can you talk a little bit about being an author boss and a mom boss for moms who are new or want to start writing, or maybe writers that are just starting their family? Like, yeah.
Yes. So that kind of covers two pieces. So the mom boss part and the getting writing done, you have lots of kids or any kids.
Yeah.
So I'll address the mom boss first. Um, I'm not a very boss personality.
That's okay.
But
Yeah,
I
or just
do
like
it kind of more like
a mom,
I
let's see here, like a mom, a thriving mom and a thriving writer, or insert any cool little descriptor word that you want for that
so
there.
I view it a little bit more like the trenches of life with them, and I am the leader,
Yeah.
and I'm pointing them in the right direction, but we are in the trenches together. And so I often leadership is leading attitude. It's leading through being the one who's willing to lead by example, apologize. It's not being in control. Back when I had one or two kids, I could still fool myself into thinking that I was in control. And the blessing of war is like we are in control. It's a blessing because it's God who works the will of His good pleasure, and He works in our kids too. And so there's of weakness. I'm 40 and I'm pregnant, and there's a difference between 30 and 40 pregnancy. So I will say
Right.
to my kids at times, like, I am tired and I do need your help. We need to get this laundry pile done, or we need to get supper ready and be done in 30 minutes. And when I say it to them that way,
Yep.
it's very healthy because in a very individualist society, we sometimes forget that we're part of something bigger than ourselves.
Right.
And the first things kids learn is they're part of a family, and then they learn they're part of a community, and they're part of a country and a world. And
Yeah.
we start there. And so when I say it that way, it's a joy to them.
Cool.
my teen boys love that there's a bunch of things they can lift and do that I can't. And
Right.
they love to come alongside and be a hero to mom.
That's cute.
But then I be careful as a writer because we in our ability for words, and I can use my sharp sword of my tongue to build or tear down. And
Right.
so in that moment of weakness, I have to be careful to say, um, I thank you and I need your help rather than if you had done this a couple hours ago, or
Right.
so we have a choice as moms. That's our most powerful tool, I think,
Right.
and it tends to be a healthy family environment
Mhm.
when I remember that it's and I don't have to control it. It's been good, and it's helped us grow in the areas we need to. I can honestly say everyone is excited. Everyone. So, although they're all most of them are hoping it's a girl, we don't know yet.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
Um,
so exciting.
but then the second part of that is just about getting writing done. Uh, when you have kids, I'd heard an interview years ago that kind of clicked it in my head how to do it. And that's that for parents, it's not as much of a schedule usually as a mindset shift. And
Hmm.
so I realized that one thing I'm in control of is what I'm spending my time thinking about. And so in the morning when I get up, you try to have a quiet time if you weren't up too many times in the night. But if I can just do 5 or 10 minutes, then wrapping my head around a scene or a question, and
Hmm.
then I'm choosing what I think about through the day. And then, in my planner, or I'll have a piece of paper there, I'm jotting notes down. When I'm washing dishes or driving in the car, I'm keeping those deeper questions going through my head so that when we get to 2 in the afternoon, when we usually try to schedule like a rest time where the older ones go read or do a project, the younger ones in theory nap, you know.
Yep.
Um, it gives me not a blank page, but a trail of thought that I can pursue. And once I started flipping it to that way of doing it, I've been able to write a lot more, but more importantly, I've been able to keep my mind going in healthy directions
Hmm.
instead of all of those drama ways that we might want to go as so.
Right. Wow. Well, I really enjoyed that. Those are some good answers for that. And I think that'll be really helpful for moms and writers, who are new moms or whatnot, trying to figure out how they're gonna spend some time writing. Okay, so you were talking too about like how to effectively talk through books with your kids. And what is one way that, or a few ways that you found to do that? Because I feel like that is one thing in our world today. Our world is corrupt, the nice way of putting it, right? And there's tons of different books out there, and like we want to be cultivating and stewarding what we choose for our children to be reading, so that because they're in very their development is very active when they're very young and stuff. So how is that something that you do, and how can other moms and other readers do that?
Thank you. That is one of my passion topics because it's really simple when you just have a couple of tools. So the three big things that I talk through with my kids, and I especially my teens, I'll let them read different books, but I give them these tools to look for, and then we're talking it through, and we do it in movies too. So
Cool.
the big question is what saves the hero at the climax?
Hmm.
Is it that at the climax they learn to work as a team? That's a good thing. Is it at the climax that they actually steal power?
Hmm.
That's even in a fantasy, that kind of inverts reality. Um, because there's universals of how the world works.
Hmm.
And while the terrains may change, that it's a fantasy or it's on another planet, um, vengeance, redemption, forgiveness, those universals don't change. And so even if it's a fantasy world, is it right for them to steal power? Is it right for them to kill someone or something at the climax? And so those are the questions that we will talk about. The other point that we look, because author beat points, is the 50% point usually tells us something as they start to reject their want and identify their needs. So my kids, like, we will stop movies. It's like, hey,
Oh,
That was
funny.
the realize they're neat. I know we're so
I love
um
that though. You're
'cause
building up storytellers too.
well, we are. And well, one thing I've learned, my husband and I both have learned this, is whatever we're learning and thinking about, it flows into our children. And some of them are more gifted in the story realm and some are gifted in other areas. But as we gain mastery of an area and we encourage them to gain mastery in the areas they're strong, we're going to actually it affects them what we're meditating on. So we
Yeah.
will totally stop at the 50% point. And then the third thing that we will usually look for is the message of the mentor. There's usually one mentor character. There's usually smaller ones too, but is the mentor telling them to do what's right, or is he, mocking what's right? And it is surprising to me, especially in some of the youth books, how inverted some of the themes are. So one of my kids had read a book, and uh, it's a whole series, and at the end the heroes all decide that they're not going to sacrifice themselves, they're going to save themselves and sacrifice everyone else. And my daughter's like,
Oh,
this is really inverted. And so we've had good
wow.
conversations.
Yep.
And she's 14, so I didn't read this series, but I skimmed, and she was able to identify and point things out and talk to her friends about, like, is this a correct worldview even if it's in a different world? And
Oh,
so it's been going very well with our teens and allowing them to develop an eye for what they're looking for.
good.
But yeah, we totally start in kid movies, like with the little ones, like,
Oh,
okay, here's the climax. What saved them?
oh, that's so funny. I love that. That is so cute. That's a cool way too for them to identify,
Conversation.
that worldview,
It's very,
talk to you about it, and
yes.
then talk to friends about it too. So then they're not just, keeping it at home, but they're also, going out into the world and making a difference with it too.
Yes, because they're thinking about it, so they're going to share with their friends. And so she ended up, she has a few friends, and they're publishing their stories on Wattpad, and so they're all
Cute.
critiquing
Yep.
each other's work. They're all going into ninth grade this fall, and so they were actually talking to each other about this. It was over and over again this year. It was wonderful. So
Oh, awesome. That is such a cool answer. I love that. And I think that will be helpful for, parents who are trying to figure out, like, okay, we want them to be able to read these books and whatnot, but we want them to spot
as
those.
and we don't want to just, constantly shelter. We really do
Right.
want them to develop an eye and continue the conversation. And it
Yeah.
was one of those series where she was reading, she came to me. Um, and my son had read a different book and then came to me last year. And it's where you want to be. So when you're
Right.
raising adults. So
When they come to you, yeah, you're the one that they go to. That's where you want to be. Yeah.
yes, yes, exactly.
Awesome.
It's a gift when you have your kids' hearts and when they're growing in front of your eyes and you're more on the front lines rather than always, well, back to the control thing.
Right.
Because the goal is for them to get to go out and know what they're looking at.
Yeah.
And I think authors have a special, not only a gifting, but a calling, because we've developed an eye for things that others miss. We do know better when we're looking at propaganda. And so I have moments where I'm trying to figure out how to even share, like, this is Twitter over here. And so it starts with our kids. Um, but there's an immense amount of power in story. And so we need to be careful that we as authors are wrestling that we're sharing story correctly. And
Mm,
so it gives us an eye to see. So it's interesting. So
that's
as romance authors, we're always struggling, like, what is a healthy relationship? How do you heal an unhealthy relationship? And so those are the questions we're always asking. So
right. And that is so true because I feel like, also, the conversation, with like the spice versus no spice and the open door versus no
yes,
open door
yes. And where are
and
the
like the
limits?
battle between that and everything. And yeah, it's so true.
As a woman, there's certain things that we have to think through and work through that maybe a teenager doesn't.
Right.
So all of those ethical questions we fight with, but it also gives us an eye. So
Right, right. And that's another thing too, like with this romance reading road trip, I'm like showing like spice guides for everything because I do have some open door authors and some closed door authors too, like a mess of everything, kind of with that. And one thing I really like what you said too is, like even when we're reading something and we don't know what the spice level is, asking those questions and being like, okay, is this, those three questions, like, and is this, you were talking about the one question where it was like,
Yes.
is this
What
invert?
saves them at the climax? Yes. Does it invert?
Yes,
Yes.
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 Does this invert what is right and or is because there's tons of that out there right now, especially in romance and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I've been wrestling through this summer. Uh, my husband's been writing a book. He's much more of a brain
Cool.
than me, so he listens to Descartes and Socrates in his free time. He's cool,
Wow. Yep.
but he's been trying to define like what went wrong with the West, and we've talked a lot about truth, goodness, and art, and
Yeah.
I so often in story what's inverted is truth, like
Huh.
a relationship that's actually very abusive or unhealthy
Mm,
projected as good.
beautiful,
And
right?
so that's exactly. And so identify, well, what is a good relationship, what is true, and what is beautiful helps us as authors to say, this is what I want to present, or this is this is uh a bad relationship here at the beginning of the book,
Yeah.
and this is how to fix it.
Yep.
So
Yeah, because it seems like a lot of those, like, I mean, and some of them have really good storylines, but they're focusing on that. Yeah, that dark male main character who is like a very, morally
yes.
gray character, and I know that's a trope that people like stuff,
Mhm.
but that bad boy, I don't know if it's like Disney that got everyone obsessed about the pirates and the bad boy considered
Yes.
instead of
Yes.
like, Prince Charming, where they're all like, you know,
Mhm.
but like yeah, it's
When
interesting.
I think there's a and there we do want healthy male leaders, and
Yeah,
so often clean authors will kind of almost react to that, and we end up with these really passive men.
yeah. I've
And
noticed.
we actually want men who will lead, but in a healthy manner. So then we have to wrestle with what is even supposed to look at like, what is a good man who's willing to take some leadership and teach our children how to lead. What does that look like? And how does so it's been healthy for my marriage to think through those things. It's been very good.
Oh,
So
that's so cool. Yeah. And I really think that's a really cool way to look at too, like even like when we're crafting our male main characters, because sometimes I've read some and like, romance books and the male lead is just very flat, where it comes
mhm.
off like he's just too perfect.
Mhm.
Whereas like, okay, I read Redeeming Love this year and it was just I loved it. It
Oh
was such
yes.
a good book.
Yes. Michael
Hosea.
Hosea.
Michael
Yes.
Hosea. Yes, he was an amazing character, amazing male character, and he seemed strong, but yet he also had that leading, great husband material. So I really liked that about him.
Mhm. And uh, as you know, with redeeming love, that what that's supposed to reflect is Christ in the church,
Exactly.
and that a man is not meant to be weak, but to actually lead. But what that actually looks like is to be willing to sacrifice oneself.
Yep.
And so, in a last hope that we're talking about, it's geared that those themes through most of my books because it's been a way through marriage, but
Cool.
uh, the Mark character starts to realize that he's married to someone who hates him, and he comes to this dark point where he has to wrestle with, well, how do you pour out love if she's going to hurt you or you're going to,
Ah.
and she's he starts to realize her identity, which is he married his enemy accident.
Oh, wow.
And he has to, but when you're pouring in marriage, you're pouring out in faith in something bigger than yourself, pouring out in faith that it's going to work. You're pouring out in faith that that's the right thing to do. And so there comes a point where you have to look over the head of the person you're pouring into.
Yep.
And I thought through this a lot because of our adoption, because we're working with a child who was marinated in the kind of abuse where they're still learning how to love, actually aren't sure if you're going to get anything back, but you're still called as a Christian and as a parent to pour. And so
Mhm.
Hope was inspired with my son, where he mentioned the temptation to build a wall inside yourself
Yep.
and then put all your pain behind it. And we all relate to that because it makes you feel strong, but it's bitterness and it's resentment, and it keeps you from feeling and growing in all the areas you need to. In A Last Hope, uh, the two characters, they're the enemy heirs of two kingdoms.
Okay.
And so at the beginning, the hero's destroys her kingdom and kills most family. She's given a protection spell to keep them feeling her because they're super to feel emotions.
Mm.
So then it goes ahead 13 years, and now she's working with the rebels. She's bitter, doesn't even feel anymore.
Wow.
But the two of them have been destined 1,000 years to marry. And touch, they share powers.
Hmm.
So when he touches her, she feels for the first time, she feels love and joy and
Wow.
faith. And she hasn't felt those things. She didn't even know, she doesn't even know how to identify what they are.
No.
And um, and he doesn't know it, but he has the power. But she has to try to hide from him.
Yep.
But she's bitter, he's arrogant, he accidentally loses his kingdom because he's arrogant, and now they're poor and married, and he has no idea who she is.
Oh, wow.
So it's a story of marriage.
Cool.
It's more geared for older readers than teens, but it's clean, and I've had a lot of teens read it and tell me it's one of their favorite books. So,
Cool.
but
Really cool.
um, so
Cool. Okay, awesome. Well, I absolutely love that and I'm excited to read it. It sounds like it's right up my alley and I love that it has this, like fairy tale vibe a little bit. And
it was, yeah, it was fun to get into the fantasy. I'd written
hey,
7 historicals before that one, so the fantasy
that's
was a
cool.
new to get into. It was really fun.
That
So,
is so cool. Yeah, I'm excited to read it, so that'll be fun. And then so where can people find you and your books right now?
I'm wide. I have a website that's just my name, Verity Sandahl, and then I'm also on Amazon. So,
Wonderful. I will put all of the links down below so that people can find you.
all right,
Perfect.
bye.
Awesome. Well,
Thank you.
I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
See ya. Thanks for riding shotgun on the Romance Reading Road Trip. I'm so excited for you to be joining this journey with us. Be sure to go down to the video description below and sign up for the passport. You're not going to want to miss out on it.